I'd be trying to make girls understand that I am also a girl like you. I have gone through the struggles that you have gone through, and I have made it out.
The world is yours for the taking. Let's talk about dreams, triumphs, and challenges of the generation on my youth channel, Say Something with Mads, where young people take lead. Today, it's a special day. I have someone, a very young change maker, Cherry. She's joining me from Nairobi, and let's welcome her. Cherry, how are you doing? And welcome to my channel.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. And I am so happy that I'm having this conversation with you today. Thank you very much.
So to give you a little bit of background about how I connected to Cherry, because I look for youth who are working on SDGs and who are making an impact, working on the ground level. So I was looking, and her name came up that she's working a lot on the ground level, and I said I must connect to Cherry. And though there was a gap, today she is here. I'm excited to know about her work and about herself. Cherry, first of all, tell me about yourself. Who is Cherry? What are you all about? What are your likings? Who are your family members? What have you done in education? So, all a little bit about yourself.
Great. So to start with, my name is Cherry Achando, and we connected on LinkedIn, as you said. And I am a young social change maker. I am very interested in social change and creating social impact. When I'm not working on social impact, I'm on the ground connecting with the community because I believe that the skills that we have and we get from education is what we should transfer to the communities that we are a part of and we come from. And then also I have just completed my undergraduate studies. I'm waiting for my graduation sometime in July this year. I studied at the African Leadership University. I pursued an undergraduate degree in global challenges and majored in governance. And I love listening to music. I love playing with animals. I love pets like cats and dogs. I am such a huge lover of pets and cats and dogs. And also, I love spending time with my family on weekends. I love disconnecting and just spending time with family, relaxing and enjoying how beautiful the world is. So, yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
True. Yes. Something very interesting you said is that you want to disconnect from people and be in your own self and discover yourself. And yeah, we will talk about your work definitely, and we're excited to know. The first question is, why did a young girl who is now 24, tell me, when did you start all this and how did you even think of working with SDGs? Something must have prompted you. What was the trigger?
I think from the age of 9, I knew
Oh,
that I
that
wanted to be.
early.
Yes, that's
Wow.
early. My mom was having a conversation with me and she asked me, "What do you want to become?" And I told her, "I just want to create change in the world." And at the time, I just got my first phone. And the things I would Google were like, what does the world need more of? And I thought to myself that that is what I want to fill gaps where the world is lacking. And I want to be in a position where I create impact in where the world is lacking. So from a very early age, I knew that I wanted to create change. I knew it was not about myself, but it was about the community around me. So
Oh,
what inspired me was just noticing the problems, especially the time where Kenya was having the post-election violence. At that time, I thought that we need peace, we need to be united, the sense of community. And with that, I just thought that these are gaps I need to fill, and these are skills I need to earn from maybe education, participate in things like debate in school, raise these topics, raise awareness on these topics, and see where we are lacking in the world to be able to provide for the world. So from the age of 9, I got to know that I wanted to do that, and ever since, I've just been chasing the dream, be it reading articles on how I can create change, be it listening to what change people are creating and what is needed more of in the world to be able to impact change. So from that, I went into my undergraduate in global challenges because it focuses on the challenges that we face on the continent and even in the world. So with that, I got to be exposed to the SDGs and even before when there were the Millennium Development Goals, I was so happy to get engaged with that and understand how can I create impact even with the small steps I can make here and there to just create change. So that's how I got
Mm-hmm.
inspired. It was basically from the violence that was happening in Kenya and just understanding that I want to create change for people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cherry, when you said that you started so early, was there anybody whom you were emulating, whom you were looking at, somebody who had worked in this area you were following, or maybe somebody in the family? How does a young girl suddenly thinks that they want to change the world? And that too, thinking is fine. Many people think that, many people have vision, but actually getting on the field and working. How was this journey? Like you chose the subject, but is there somebody from the family or somebody around you whom you thought that you attached themselves you to that NGO or something? How did that process start?
I think what happened was at the time, as I said, from the post-election violence, Kenya called in, it was the late Kofi Annan laureate
Yes.
for that. They called him into Kenya to be, to kind of mediate within the situation and kind of bring peace to the country. And I thought, this is an African who is bringing peace to an African country. And I thought to myself, more women should be in such spaces. And I thought to myself that if an African is doing this, then what makes me different from him? I can do the same and also achieve that. So I've thought to myself that he is the person I'm taking inspiration from, and he is the person I want to become like. So that was quite inspiring at the time because we're just depending on the news and television and seeing what happens in the world because you can't really connect with people when there's violence happening outside. You have to stay in the house and you have to keep safe. So just looking at TV and learning from what people are doing, how they're mediating within conflict areas. And I learned that that is the person I want to take after, and that is
Mm,
what I will strive to become. And yeah, I
wow.
feel like I'm doing a pretty good job doing that, but I'm also
You
learning.
are?
I'm always open to learning. So it's still a process and it's still in progress. So
Yes.
I'm giving myself grace in the moment and also just being open to learn and engaging with people, understanding different perspectives and just learning as I go.
Great. All
Mhm.
right. So, you is there any chosen field in your area of SDGs? Because we have a lot of goals, and I myself work with students to get them familiarized with. So many of them even don't know what SDGs are. Even 2 years back, when I was talking to students in India, they had no idea what SDGs are. That's the saddest part. So even if my subject did entail me to do that part, but I would introduce it. At least they should read, learn. So tell me, what was your chosen area of work? And did you zero in on one particular area, or you were just looking which will which suits your kind of change making attitude?
I think first, before I go into the question, I agree with what you're saying in that you said that people do not know about the SDGs. And that's why today I was hoping to highlight about the localization of SDGs because it's still a broad term to people. And every time I still get asked, what are you doing? And it's always so odd because I have to explain to them SDGs, there were MDGs before, and then this is what happened. So every single time someone asks, I tell someone that I'm doing SDGs, they wonder, what is it exactly you're doing? And it's because of how broad it is. It's like 17 sustainable development goals, and I have to always kind of explain this is why we're doing this is why it's getting done, so we can make the world a better place. So yeah, I kind of understand what you're talking about because the UN, I think, has failed in kind of making the SDGs local. It's just still up there and it seems
Yes.
unachievable to people because they're not sensitized to the SDGs and what exactly they are. Because sometimes you might find that even in the local area, we are practicing the SDGs, but we do not know that we are doing it. So I feel like with education and sensitization of people, for example, in the local community, get people to have the SDGs translated into local languages for people to understand that this is what we need to do to create impact. First, with that, that will be able to get us there by the year 2030. So if you're talking about what areas have been keen on the SDGs, I think it's changed with time and with the problems I keep seeing within the community. Because, for example, when I was 14, when I was 9, it was about peace building and as at
Uh,
now it's come into period poverty, so it falls into sustainable development goal 3 and 6, which is good health and well-being, and then clean water and sanitation, because I think about the women in my community and how they have access to this. And then you notice that if you're working on one SDG,
all
they always in
connected.
one way or another
Yes.
connect to each other. So for example, if you're working on eradicating period poverty, that is keeping girls in school, which falls into education. So each of them
Education.
interconnect. So it's just
Very
finding your area of where you're passionate about, because even if you're doing period poverty, it's also creating gender equality and empowering women and girls. So they each fall into each other. So I wouldn't say that I stick to one specific area.
nice.
It always touches on all of them. Yeah.
Sherry, you had specifically you wanted to talk about where are we reaching our target of 2030, and you are working closely with that. So let me ask you this: what do you think is is the goal achievable? I personally I think it's not. So we have to extend this. So what is it you have to tell about the target, and do we have to shift the target by how many years if we have to achieve at least few of them completely?
I also concur with you on that. I think we are very far behind. And I think one of the reasons we are set back is also because of the COVID-19
Yeah.
pandemic. And with the creation of SDGs, I think we should have been more open to understanding that things like pandemics can happen, and with that create a strategy to mitigate the SDGs being affected, the timelines being affected by such pandemics and every
Mm,
epidemic that may happen
mm,
in the long run.
mm,
So I
mm,
think we are far behind. And I think what we need to change, if at all we still leave 2030 as the goal that we have set to achieve this, what we need to do is change strategy. And I
mm,
think what has been written down as a strategy to achieve this has to change and kind of encompass the changes that have happened in the world ever since the COVID-19 pandemic. And with that,
mm,
bring people back together into the discussion rooms and let us know how can we create a way forward past the COVID-19 pandemic or past any other pandemic that can happen, what
mm,
things may come in future that may affect the way we achieve the goals. And also from that, a strategy, systems change. I always advocate for systems change because we cannot be hoping to create change with systems that were there in the 90s. We have to always
mm,
be open to innovate and be creative and change strategies as and when is required for us to be able to achieve this goal. So I feel we are very far behind, but what we need to do
mm,
is change strategy. For example, localize the SDGs, talk about,
mm,
bring it to local level, make it included even in the education system, because education systems are still very backward, for example, and we're
mm,
not implementing what is currently happening in the
mm,
world today. So, for example, bring this into the education system. Let the young people know that the SDGs need to be achieved, and they're going to be achieved by us. And it's not anybody,
mm.
it's not anyone else. It's not the generation to come. It's only us who are within the world to create this change. So, yeah, I feel like we are behind, but if we
Behind.
change strategy, we might be able to achieve
Mm,
this.
mm.
But I feel like the time that needs to be extended as well as the strategy needs to be adjusted accordingly.
Some wonderful pointers you made, and which made me think also. Cherry, you go out and actually work in the field. When I was last talking to you, said I'm out somewhere in some far off place and I have no connection. So tell me about the groundwork. Where were you? What were you doing? Were you doing this distributing radios and talking to the Maasai tribes? What were you? I'm very intrigued to want to know about this.
So what you were doing is I went into the field in Suswa, where the local Maasai community live, and I got to engage with a community leader who I've had stories from. I've seen her feature in the news, and I thought, wow, this should be my role model. I look to people who I might only be seeing out in the international field, but she's a local woman who I should be looking up to as well because she's creating change in the community. And that area is an ASOL area. It's arid and semi-arid area. So there's no trees, it's very dry, but the lady goes out and plants trees in school. And with that, it was very inspiring getting to engage with her. So what we went out to do at the time
What's
is
her
to
name,
interview the
Cherry?
her name is, let me see if I could remember. I don't think I can remember it
Okay, you
as
can
of
share the
now,
link.
but
I will check it
I'll be
out.
sure to share it with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we went to do is to interview the girls who have been beneficiaries of this program before, where the radios were distributed, and find out what impact is it that it has created in their lives. And I got to listen in and understand that these girls are using the torches on the radios to do their homework. I have access to
Wow.
electricity, I have access to Wi-Fi, and they're using torches to do their assignments. And that shows what great passion they have for education. And it just shows you that with lacking resources, there's always a way to innovate. There's always a way to innovate. Don't focus on the lack that you have, focus on what you can use in your immediate environment to create change. So for them, they're using the radios to learn English, they're using the radios to, their parents are using the radios to learn about farming. And it's creating a whole system of impact, and it's just so wonderful. So that's what I went to do in the field, get to
Wow.
know about the girls, and then later on this year I'll be going back again to also distribute radios to more girls and create more impact. And there's a lot of girls at the time who have been saved from early marriages, who have been
Ah,
saved from FGM. Just within the local community, I was getting to hear about these stories, and that inspired me to also just try and see how can I create change for these girls. So recently I've been thinking about projects where women and girls can go back into communities and talk to girls in school. You don't have to be a president, you don't have to be a wife to a president to be able to create to make a speech and girls can listen to you. You just have to show that you have achieved
somebody
from
cares.
the
Yeah.
scarcity of resources, and show them that they can also do the same. So I've been thinking about how can I incorporate a space where women who have achieved greatly in society can go back into communities and talk to girls and let them know that they can also achieve greatly. So I've been
Wow.
trying to
This is
create a project around that, and it's still in the works. So I'm always trying to innovate and be creative around that area.
you have thought about a lot of steps, which is really amazing. Is that at this age you have thought way ahead, which could have been done earlier. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now doing what? What will be your ideal scenario? Where will you be?
I think 20 years from now, I'd still be doing the same thing, creating impact in whatever capacities I'll be allowed to. And I feel that I would be in a better place to also advise and bring girls along and women along to creating change, and create a union where women are taking part in decision making and also influencing policies in that they affect areas where people who are less who are at a less advantage get resources and get access to the things that we find are normal, but they find are out of reach for them. So I think I'd still be creating impact. I'd still be going hard at influencing policy and creating change for women, and also empowering women and girls. That would always be my area of passion. Yeah.
Do you see yourself getting into mainstream politics, going into
Um,
policy making, administration, because your subject is governance, right? You said international governance. So, do you see yourself as in UN, sitting as a change maker, as a policy maker? Because you have spoken a lot about strategies and policies, and your vision is very, very doable. Something you need to have. We need to have people like you on policy making forums. So, do you see yourself as working with the government?
Um, I think working alongside the government, not working in the government, would be a great idea. Maybe in consulting and just creating change from the outside. Because sometimes I feel like with government, there's ways of operating that might not
Bureaucracy.
be
Yeah.
very, yeah, there's a lot of politics around that. And I don't like to get much into that,
Yeah.
because when it's a lot of talk and no action. So I feel working
Yes.
alongside them and influencing action and creating actionable steps for them in some form of consulting would be the best route for myself. Yeah.
And are you at this age when you're working so much? Is the spotlight on you? Do you get invited to people to speak to on different forums and address youngsters?
I don't think I have had the chance to do that yet, because I don't like talking much about it. I like being about the action more. So I feel like I am better off in the field doing the hard work in place of being in front of camera and just addressing the issues. I should be out there and working towards creating the change and influencing the change. But if given the platform, I'd always be open to talk. I'd always be open to give my advice and 2 cents in areas of policy and SDGs, but I'd also be happy in understanding how can we create the impact? How can we go onto the ground and help people? Because I feel like sometimes we might waste time just talking about it, but what about the action? Who are we expecting to act on it? It's only us who have to do that. So yeah.
You are an amazing orator, and I'm sure if you talk, people are going to listen, and you have such clarity of thought. You just spoke about everything. Your inspiration, you said, is Mr. Kofi Annan. You follow him. So tell me about what are your biggest strengths and weaknesses, or I would say limitations, what you want to overcome, and what do you think is your biggest strength?
I think my biggest strength is always being open to constructive criticism. I take
Okay.
criticism very well because I always say I am open to learning. I do not know everything and I am just starting. So if at all I dispense criticism and say I will not take it, then how is it that I will grow? So I feel my biggest strength at the moment is being open to criticism and being open to learn. And with that, I always engage with, for example, my company administrator. I always reach out to her and learn from her because she is someone who has traveled within the continent. She's gone to 25 countries in Africa and she knows more. She knows a lot more than I do. So I'm always open to listening to, I love storytelling as well. So I'm always open to listening to the stories of what she's had is happening on the ground and what impact we can create. So I'm always opening to learn, having open discussions with people and just understanding that diversity is what creates opportunities for us to learn from each other and grow from each other, and we understand that the different perspectives that are held, with that we can be able to create a combined effort whereby we create a great product which can be able to influence change. And I think for my weaknesses, I think sometimes I have trouble delegating tasks, you see, in that I always take on a lot of responsibility for myself, and
Uh,
sometimes it might be draining. For example, in groundwork, I'm taking for granted the things I have available, and there's girls who do not have access to this. So with that, I have been able to have an open mind and understand how I can create impact for the girls. So I feel that that is
that's
something I
great.
am working on.
If I have to ask you, Sherry, that you are going to write your autobiography right now, what would be the title of the book?
I think the title would be A Girl Like You, because I would be trying to make girls understand that I am also a girl like you. I have gone through the struggles that you have gone through, and I have made it out. So
That's
it would be titled A Girl Like You, so
oh,
that to
such a
make them understand that
you're one of them.
it's not different what we go through. Yeah.
Sherry, what are the top three issues with youth face? I'm not talking about global issues right now. I think personal issues. What are the biggest angst youth have? Top three, if you have to say. What are they struggling with the most?
I think at the moment the youth are struggling with being understood because
Okay.
of kind of the generational gap. And I think people are still struggling to understand that the struggles we've gone through are different from what the other generations have gone through. We have gone through a pandemic. I was out of university for 2 years. I was having my university experience at home. So, with that, it's very different from people who had
Very
universities
different.
communally. So there's always that difference. So I think that's one of the challenges. And then the second one would be access to resources. I think the youth are still not given access to resources they require, and they're not given a platform to take part in decision making and creating change. Decisions are still imposed on the youth, as opposed to bringing in the youth to create solutions for ourselves and also just influence policy and create things that we think can make change for us. People still think we have the right to make decisions for you because you're too young to make decisions for yourself. So we're going to do that for you. So I think being given that space and platform and being given the opportunity to just create policies for ourselves and understand, because the challenges we face, you would not understand if you have not gone what we have gone through. Because with the
Mm.
generations, things have changed. We have adopted technology, we have adopted other things, and we can create solutions because these are things we are used to in our daily lives. So we know how we can use them to influence the change we want to see in the world. And I think the third one would be lack of mentors.
Okay.
In
Mm.
today's world, there's literally almost no one to look up to be very honest with how the society is going. I would like to emulate this person, and then they come and switch again in character. And I think to myself, this is not the person I should be looking up to. So I think it's the lack of mentors and people we can look up to. And I think we can be the people, we can create that for ourselves and be our own mentors as we come together in communities, talk to each other as youth, share our problems, and try to create solutions for ourselves. We can create change by building communities within ourselves.
I am speechless when I listen to you talking that, yeah, lack of mentors. And Sherry, this is very common that we see that there are so many people who are so-called coaches, so-called mentor, are dime a dozen all over LinkedIn and Insta. People are all trying to coach, but are they even
Mhm,
doing what they are saying they are doing? The walk the talk is
mhm,
missing. They are just doing it for money. They're doing it for to be seen somewhere, some posts. That's it. The person they are actually, what you have so rightly pointed out, doesn't turn out to be. Um, I have thought about this, but you articulated it so well. Really, it's an issue. There's no role model. You are in a very exotic place, I must say, because I look up to Kenya, Tanzania as a place where you go to see wildlife, and it's something which is aspiration. I'm myself going to travel soon to your place. Tell us some about your country, about how the children are, what is the education system, what are the kinds of what are the food, culture, festivals. Tell us something about a regular life of a Kenyan girl growing up, or any teen. Yeah.
Um, Kenya is a very beautiful country. I would say I haven't seen any country as beautiful as this one from the ones I have traveled, honestly. First, it's with the national park that is located within the capital. That is just otherworldly, to be very honest. It is amazing to see animals. And most of the times when I'm going to visit my grandmother, I would, along the road, I'd meet zebras, impalas, baboons, just along the road, giraffes blocking the road to travel. It is
Wow.
giraffes are
You are
causing
so
traffic. So
privileged
that is
people
something that is very,
go
very
all the way.
important.
Yeah, all the way to see those things, and you have this route.
Skyline in Kenya, there's trees. If you see the skyline in Kenya, you'd notice that there's trees within the city, which shows that Kenya is into conservation of the natural environment, and it's just beautiful. We haven't cut down all our trees just because we're trying to develop. There's trees, there's natural vegetation, which is very, very impressive. And also there's the beach at the coast. I love going to the coast. When I was younger, I would go to the coast. I would go down to the coast every Christmas because it was amazing. My mom would take me there for the whole month and we'd just relax along the coast, enjoy the beach. And it's just amazing. The people are friendly. People are always open to conversation. It's always, you would never walk in Kenya and someone does not say hello to you. They're very, very kind. Kenyans are very, very kind. We are very
All
nice
right.
people, very, very
So
sweet.
what kind of is your festival cuisine? What do you make during festivals?
We have ugali, you can have it alongside greens and meat. I prefer chicken and fish because it's better.
Okay, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you have a chance to ask me
Mhm.
a question. So let's see what you have for me.
I would like to ask, what is it that inspired you to kind of get into giving the youth a platform to express themselves and giving them a voice where they can talk about the SDGs and the challenges they see around the world, especially going into LinkedIn and finding youth who are working in these areas? What is it that inspired you to get into this? And what is it that you're trying to create change for, or what gap did you
Mhm.
see that you felt that you need to fill, or what is it exactly that just inspired you
Mhm.
to start, and what is the long-term goal of this program that you have?
Yeah, that's a lot of questions, but yes, I would try to answer them one by one. The basically is the idea is that I'm in a new country. I've always been in India. I studied, I taught for 26 years in India, and suddenly I was, for due to some circumstances, I was in a new country, Dubai, and then the pandemic struck, and I was missing my country. I was missing talking to young people because I've always been talking to them. So I did a few courses. I did a life coaching course. I did a neuroscience course in education to understand how teen brains work. What is it that was missing during teaching? I consider myself as a good teacher, but I thought that there are gap between understanding what the youth is doing because we don't understand their behavior, their nature, why they are what they are, why they speak what they speak. There's a lot of gaps. So I wanted to learn about them, how the brains are wired. So I started
Mhm.
learning neuroscience, and that helped me understand the youth better. As I understood them, I said, let me revisit my old thought process and start looking at it youth from a different, I would say, a different perspectives, different glass. And I said, they have a lot to say. Only thing is, I have to lower down my biases about them to not to know. Though I was always interested in working with SDGs and all, I had not ever thought that I would actually start this, but it was born out of necessity that I want youth to speak what is the issue which bother. It may not be SDG, it may be something like mental health, it may be something like they talk about the body shaming, they talk about how they are eating disorders in them, how they are misunderstood by their family, anything and everything which youth have a lot of angst, lot of things to say, but they have no platform. So this is the two things I want to understand them better. And is another thing is there is something, a selfish need, that I want to know them better, and let the world know what they have to say, because there hardly any place where they are the spotlight. And it's my
Mhm.
humble beginning, and I wish that I connect with 1,000 youth. That's my first goal, that I want to connect with 1,000 people when I, and every day I connect to one new youth. So that's something I do without fail. And I connect to them, I talk to them, and I invite them. Most of the people are as happy to be here as you are. So my goal is to reach 1,000 people, and then I'll see where I take it from there, maybe make it a big global platform. And that's how it is.
I think that is very, very amazing in that you saw that you said that you moved countries and then you saw opportunity, which is creating a space for the youth through the background you have and experience you have. I think that is a very interesting way to take it, in that you have decided to innovate within your local environment, influence change within the world. And also the goal of reaching 1,000 youth, I feel that that's very, very achievable with um how you are, how good you are at interviewing the youth, how you are at listening and taking our opinions and just giving us a platform to represent our thoughts and what we think about the world at its current state. So thank you very much for creating this platform for us. And I think it's achievable. And with that, you can also be able to give us more spaces to express ourselves,
Yes.
and also widen our platform and opportunities just for us to express ourselves and be given a voice, which is very inspiring. And I think from this, many people will also see what you are doing and try and also help within the
Yeah.
process and also build up
You
your platform. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for nailing it and understanding that I want to create a platform. I will be adding you to a group of youth already, which are there in my community. So all of us coming together, making a change, doing something big. World is open to all of us. We are from different diverse backgrounds. Let's come together and do something. And I'm so happy that you actually thought that, yes, this, you validated my need and my vision. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And
Well,
please bring in to my notice any other change maker who was doing good work, and I would be happy to host them. Even if they are not a change maker, even if any youth has something to speak to the world about them, they are most welcome here. Thank you, Cherry. I hope you had a great time as much I had interviewing you. And let's keep in touch. after this, and let's grow
Mhm.
together. And I would love to be a part of your initiative. If you ever need me to talk to people, talk to youth, I'll be there for you.
All right, thank you so much for the platform and for the opportunity. And I think just before I leave, a parting shot would be always be open to learning and growing, always be open to taking initiative, always be proactive in reaching out to people, because the difference between you and achieving your opportunity is the proactivity you put into the life and the opportunities that are before you. It always, there's a quote I read that says, opportunity, it's luck is what people define as opportunity meeting readiness. So you always have to be ready, always be preparing, always be learning, upskilling yourself so that when the opportunity presents itself, then you take it by the horns and you can be able to achieve impact. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for taking the time to get to know me and know the work that I am a part of. And I'll also be open to connecting with other youth that you are talking to. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cherry. So, with this, we come to the end of our episode, and I hope you like it as much as I like bringing it to you. Please subscribe to my channel and let it grow with showing a lots and lots of love by subscribing it. And as I say before I end, each one of us is capable of taking care of this world, taking care of our earth. Just do a little bit, one small thing at a time. Check your surroundings. You can do start from your home, and you can be a big change maker in future. Thank you so much, Cherry. See you.
Thank you. Bye. See you.